Welcome back, everybody, to another artist spotlight right here on the Ethos Media Network. I am Shane G, and today we have a very special guest. And this is going to be a little bit of a different twist today, you know. So today we have a dedicated, I'm going to say, rap artist who is a Christian. I don't want to just blanket him as a Christian rap artist. So he's a rap artist who is a Christian. He's an event host and he's a ministry focused creative based out of North Carolina. Without further ado, I would like to bring to you all my man Etano. Etano, how you doing, sir?
What's going on with y'all, man? I like that intro.
Hey man, just gotta let the people know, that not every artist is coming with the same the same background and the same inspiration for why they do what they do, so speaking of that, um let's get into it a little bit. So, how long have you been putting out music? What type of art did you start out making? Were you always sort of, spiritually centered in your music, or was that something that kind of, took place over time, like with growth?
So I've been making music for really close to 10 years, going on 11 years now. But as far as like the faith-based focus, that's really only been going for about the last year and 3 or 4 months.
Mm, okay.
Up until then, I was under a whole nother lane. I went under the slum punk lane. So like coined that phrase, between me and a group that I was in. And that was like a mix of rock, rap. It almost be like if Tupac met Travis Scott or something.
Mm.
Like, so we was on that type of wave. But yeah, I switched over to the Christian rap lane in March of 2025.
Okay, so would you consider yourself to be a Christian rapper, or would you consider yourself to be a rapper who is Christian?
You know what? Just so it doesn't confuse people, because I have a thing about trying my best not to confuse people. I will say I am a Christian artist. Um, but I like how you put that, where you said what a rapper that is a Christian. I like that. I like that. But because I'm so faith centered in my music, it's safer to just go ahead and say Christian rapper.
Okay, okay. No, and I just, I wanted to give you that opportunity because, um, some people just don't like being put in a box or, having a stigma put on them.
Yes,
But if you embrace it, then it's not a stigma, right? Like, so if you're saying
exactly.
yourself, no, I center my faith and my spirituality in the music, so I am a Christian rapper. It's like, okay, well, you're wearing that
Absolutely.
as like a badge of honor, then. So I don't have a problem calling you that if you like that. Um,
Hey,
so you recently dropped Big God on Bandcamp. So what was the
yes, sir.
inspiration behind this specific track, and why would you say Bandcamp was the right platform for its release?
Oh man, I got a couple answers for that. I'm gonna try to keep it short. All right, so
You don't
the
have to.
track Big
This
God.
this is your time, brother. You say what you
Ah,
got to say.
so the track Big God. So for those out there who are of the Christian faith, Big God is it's a statement. It's a statement because a lot of and anybody that knows Christianity in general, or just Abrahamic faiths in general, they know that the center focus is Yahweh, God. For Muslims, Allah, and we say that He is the creator of all things. So He can't be little and then be the creator of all things. On top of, I wanted to make a song where it didn't make God sound, like just a little, like a little somewhere we, "Ooh, Jesus loves me." I ain't want that. I like praise with
Right, right.
808s. You know, I like something that's got a little thump to it. And I wanted people to be able to hear it, but I'm also making some bold statements in the track too. Like one of the statements that, when I made the song, like the song was made pretty fast. I was
Okay.
in New York at the time. I was there for the Chance to Star Music Festival auditions, and me and the producer Kevin Ventures, we were talking about doing something, and he made the beat on the spot. I made the lyrics on the spot, and and some of the lyrics that I have in the song, where I'm saying, Like some of them I was thinking might be a little offensive. I hope not. I'm not trying to be offensive, but
Right, that's not the
this is a,
goal, but
yeah, this is a big step of song. So it's like sometimes people get stepped on. I ain't trying to step on you. Hope you hear the love. But one of the songs I one of the lines I made in it was you know, when I see things break like God, I blame the men. And that's one of the bold statements where I'm challenging men to look at themselves for making society better. You
Mhm.
know, a lot of times I see a lot of people finger pointing here, 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 and there. And sometimes I feel like women feel like in the Bible, especially, women are kind of overlooked or pointed at as the bad figure. But actually, in the Bible, every time something went wrong, God blamed men. He didn't point at the women. He looked at the men and said, "Y'all."
Mhm.
So that was one statement I made in there. But another one I made in there was, single mothers are still a gift. Sending love to the mom, single mother's still a gift. And then I say, when I see things break like God, I blame the men. I'm talking about families. I'm talking about like, uplift, like society being better. If you want to see it better, men step up. Men be men.
Yeah.
So the big God track, it's also pointing out some things societally, like in society that's going on. I talked about what was going on in UK right now. Um, in the second verse, well, dang, I'm over here. I can't forget my own verse now. I'm gonna be talking about the song. But where I said, America's strapped. Did you hear about Westminster? P31 ain't just her listen, mister. So right now there's a thing going on in a lot of what we call westernized countries where the Bible is slowly but surely being banned and people are being arrested for preaching. And while you would say, yeah, that goes on in a lot of places, it's very different when you're talking about places like London or Westminster, where now, okay, it's okay for you to, have your Muslim call to prayer. But if this man go out here preaching in the streets, he's going to get arrested. Now, if we're talking equality, that's not equal. And it's that transition is going on through the world where you're starting to see more people, where more people are turning on Christianity and not necessarily understanding the programming to make them do that or why. And it's a the track is a thump. It's a 80, it's a praise on 808s, but I'm really talking some stuff in there too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and so that actually perfectly leads into my next question, which is sort of how do you balance the technical side of being an artist, when you're working with your producer and you're trying to come up with the sound, of the song, so you want that thump, you want that, that big stepper feel, like you said, so
Yeah.
you're balancing the technical side of being an artist, mixing, mastering, engineering, getting with your producer, making sure the sound is right, but then also balancing that with the spiritual message that you're trying to convey.
Ah, the only thing I could answer with that is I gotta be me. I gotta be me. I know a lot of times because I really do. I'm since I'm newer to the Christian rap lane in general, some of the influences that have been there before that have gotten other artists molded to the sound that they in, I don't have that.
Hmm.
I was listening to drill music very much heavily. I grew up listening to trap music. I grew up listening to those things. So I'm not gonna act like I didn't do that just because all of a sudden, now I want to serve Jesus with my music.
Right.
I'm gonna I'm gonna be me and I'm gonna keep it clean. I'm gonna keep it real, but I'm also going to make sure the sound embodies me, the individual, too, because there's somebody like me out there who feels like this lane is not for them. I know for me, I grew up not listening to Christian rap or really caring to listen to gospel. I actually hated it, honestly. So, there's somebody out there that's like me that's like, dang, where's a sound that I can listen to and still get this message that I'm yearning to hear. So I say, be yourself. I'm being me, and I'm letting them 808s hit. I'm letting these producers that's been rocking with me over these last 10 years make these beats for me too in this era. So, the message might have changed, but my growth as an artist is still on that same path.
So the sound isn't necessarily what changed. So like if people listen to your old stuff, and they were a fan of that, they would be familiar with what they're hearing still. It wouldn't be a total shock. It would just be the content. What you're actually speaking about is what has evolved.
Yeah, exactly. Like the sound itself hasn't really changed too much. I don't call myself a demon no more,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, talk about pulling out guns on people, which I was never one of those guys. Let me say, I was never one of those crazy snitch on yourself rappers. I hate that. Like I never did that. But I would talk in a way where it's like I wanted to tell the truth, but I would put it in a story type of way, like fantasy meets reality. One, because I was really selling weed and stuff. I was really doing stuff. So it's like I'm
Yep.
not about to snitch on myself for no clout. That's stupid. But I'm gonna
Right.
put it in a way where y'all know I see it. And thank God I did it that way. Because
Yeah.
I ended up needing to make sure my music was not incriminating me. If anybody, if you know, you know. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, nah.
But
I mean, that's
it's the
reality,
truth.
though. And unfortunately, we're seeing too many of our younger rappers who are learning that lesson the hard way. Because we definitely came from that era where, in the '90s
Right.
it was pretty much all mixed in storytelling. You know what I'm saying? So you never knew if it was like fantasy or reality. You just knew it was vivid. You
You
didn't
knew it
know
was
if that
vivid.
rapper was out there doing anything particularly themselves. You knew they probably grew up around it, but you didn't know if they were hands on or not. And then that just slowly kind of evolved into the DMXs and the 50 Cents, where it was like, okay, you knew they
Oh,
were doing it at one point, and then they, probably stopped when they started rapping or whatever.
exactly.
And then it became, I'm rapping it and doing it at the same
Like I,
time. And it
like I
was
just
like,
did it this morning. I just killed him this morning.
yeah,
Like
like, man, can we
you
please learn
dumb.
from that, y'all? Like, I hate seeing y'all go to prison. I really do.
Make all that money and then trying to beat the system only to give it right back.
Just to give it right back, man. It's
That's
sad. So, now you did mention your shift towards music, or your shift in faith,
yeah.
and strengthening your faith led to the shift in your music as well.
Right.
Take us back to that turning point and describe what changed with you. What was, sort of the catalyst for that change, and when you decided to start implementing that in your music.
Okay, so for my people out there that haven't had this experience, understand that I understand this is gonna sound crazy. Um, I did not. I was first of all, I grew up in a Baptist family. I grew up around that, and I'll be quite honest with you, I didn't understand how much I didn't understand. You know,
Hmm.
you got the world saying one thing, and you got church saying this thing, and I didn't. It wasn't necessarily. Well, I can't say this all the way, but you got people acting one way, and you got what this book says. Mind you, I had never read the Bible, so I couldn't really, speak on that. I could just say I didn't like how people were portraying themselves, but also claiming to be such, strong believers and lovers of Christ. So at one
Hmm.
point in time, I completely left it. I did become a Hebrew Israelite. I was not on the streets yelling at white people, telling them that they were going to hell. That was not my thing. Uh, that was not me. I was studying a little more than that. My Hebrew Israelites, if you're watching this, hey, I was down with the cause. Come out. But that's another story. I then, went through spirituality, looking into the woke beliefs and stuff, the new age beliefs, and applying some of that too, because for me it was like there has to be a middle somewhere. It's like you can't have science and then all these religions and then all of this and people having all these experiences and there not be a truth in the middle. So I try to find out what that truth in the middle was, and the truth be told, it almost killed me, real talk. It got to a point where I was trying to mix my darkness, as some people would say, and my light. And the thing is, when you try to mix light with darkness, you're gonna get darkness only. And I ended up going through that. And two-parent home background, parents both educated. How in the world did I become a trapper? You know, like I'm in college, I'm a veteran. You know, how in the world did my mind shift from that to you a criminal now?
Mm.
And that's because that darkness started to take over. And I actually had a real life. I told y'all this was gonna sound crazy, y'all. You know, this is your viral moment. Click, click. All right. So I actually had a real spiritual encounter. I had a few, but I didn't realize that's what it really was. And I wasn't high. It was always in my most sober moments where these things would happen. And you know, dreams and whatnot, yeah, that's cool. Astral projection, I did that. Those things are very real. Um, but in this case, I was really about to go commit a murder.
Mm.
Um, I was I really had planned it out. It would have been first degree. It would have been I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not a dummy, you know. So I was about to go crash out, but I wasn't gonna be seen crashing. That was just the whole plan. And that was that time where I'm sitting in my car with this gun, and I've told this story before, but you know, I'm sharing it on your platform. And you know, I'm sitting in the car with this gun, and like I'm really at this point where I'm like, you know, life has taken everything, everything, you know, and I could go down the line of what was going on, but I got to this point where, you know, I was ready to do this crime. And it felt like somebody sat in my car. It literally felt like somebody opened my door, sat in my car, and while I'm sitting here ready to go, you know, mind you, I'm dealing with PTSD and all this extra stuff too. I'm not necessarily knowing I'm dealing with this, but I am.
Mhm.
And I'm feeling this. It feels, you know how it feels when somebody walk beside you,
Mhm.
even though you don't have to look at them, but you know when they're
You just
beside
feel
you,
that presence, yeah.
you feel that presence. So I felt that presence, and I'm sitting there like, now I do the again, people. Here's your viral moment. I was the crazy part. So then I start addressing this thing, and I'm like, I know you don't want me to do it, but I'm gonna do it. And just like somebody talking to you, I'm hearing this voice, and it's like, you know, you don't. I love both of you, and I'm sitting there like, God, if this is you, how in the world you love somebody that don't even love you? He don't even know you. How you gonna tell me you love him? I'm looking for you and I'm getting done dirty. So how you love somebody who don't even know you more than somebody who's at least looking for you? And I'm hearing this voice again. It sounded sweet and it sounded familiar, but not like your grandma type of familiar. Like you know this person, but you never heard this person before type of familiar. And I recognized this voice before because even before I went to jail, it was the same one that told me, trust me or die. And I was like, well, I'm gonna trust you if death is, you know, the other side of this.
The only other option, right?
You
I,
know,
I
the
guess I
only other
gotta
option is
trust you then.
die. I'm like, dang, you gonna kill me, God? Like, nah, I'm not gonna kill you. Your decisions are gonna get you killed. I went to
Mm.
jail the next day, come to find out a couple years later that someone actually came to my apartment looking to kill me. And I was in jail, so they never found me. Like it stuff like that. So now the same voice is sitting in my car, like, don't do this because I love you both. And I'm like, all right, you know, I said what I said. It's like, if you doing this would be me losing two for the price of one incident and over a lie. I'm like, all right. Next thing you know, I hear Nick. Yeah, that's my real name, y'all. But it's like, Nick, I love you. I'm like, I love you. And I'm like, man, I just broke down. I'm like, because honestly, I gotten to the point where I felt like I didn't deserve love, and I didn't understand love enough to know that you can deserve love and still have never done anything for it. You know, a baby is born to this world with automatic love from the parents, supposedly, but the baby has done
Right,
nothing to earn it.
right.
And so that's what it felt like, a parent saying, "I love you. I see you with this gun. I see you made these bad decisions. I see you, but I love you regardless. Don't go ruin yourself." And so I put the gun up and, you know, I started praying, you know, of course, I'm praying to Jesus, praying, praying. And I'm hearing, you know, hey, go get baptized. All right. So And y'all, me getting baptized, I'm gonna tell y'all, I ain't gonna say I was a piece of crap, but I didn't get baptized like some people. Some people be like, I ran to the water and I just was crying. No, I smoked a blunt all the way to church. I smoked a blunt the night before. I was an hour late. And I didn't like my body didn't want to get baptized. I personally didn't really want to get baptized, but I knew I needed to make a declaration that was different.
Mhm.
And so I was so daggone high the night before. I was an hour late for church. Man, tell me why church started an hour late. Church never church never starts an hour late. So now church starts an hour late. I'm walking in thinking I'm late. I probably missed it, you know. Oh, we'll do this again. They're like, oh no, you actually getting here. We had some difficulties.
Yeah,
I'm
right
like,
on
what?
time.
All right. All right. So I get in there, I get baptized, a couple hours later, and I hear something say, all right, your next step is ministry. All right. And I'm like, all right, God, I hear you. I hear you. Then the pastor gonna lean over to me. You heard that? I'm like, yeah, he said, your next step is ministry. Then he leans back and I'm like, all right, God, I hear you. I'm like, all right, Lord, I hear you. And so, I had this same voice as like, your next step is ministry, but this time you're gonna go into it as easily as you breathe. And I'm like, all right, now I ain't ready to be nobody's pastor. Clearly, I just told you I was smoking blunts like within the last 3 hours. So clearly I ain't ready to be nobody's pastor. But now my music started changing. I couldn't rap about the same stuff consciously. Like it didn't feel the same. Then I went
Mhm.
8 months where I couldn't rap. And so the next song that I made was a song where I was like, man, I'm gonna try my best to get a song done. I don't care what I gotta do. And I'm like, man, the only thing I want to rap about is God. And so I make a song where I'm talking about my mistakes meeting God. And that was I the problem? And song came out quick, beautiful, done. And a few months later, I'm at my industry debut, or this industry debut event, and I go in there, I from for my tail off, shirt off, jumping on tables, jumping on chairs, and then finally I stand up and I'm like, all right, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed it. It's been real, but y'all never hear me perform them songs again. And mind you, the night before I was praying, like, God, show me to somebody who I can walk this walk with. Like, give me some brothers, because I'm about to be alone. And
Yeah.
man, I walked right outside. The guys that I do ministry with were right outside. I had just met them that night. So it was like I went straight into it. Now my music serves ministry just as naturally as I breathe, man. So that's how I ended up like this.
And that's what's up, man. And it,
Oh
and it
yeah.
shows that it's a step by step process. Like, sometimes you have to jump out there when you aren't ready to do something. You got to, in order to grow, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Exactly.
you have to learn that whenever you're going to go through any sort of major change in your life, whether that be a spiritual, like you're prepared to take on your spirituality or your religious, you know, what I think all of us grew up being taught, right? But
Yeah.
you don't want to give up certain things, or you don't want to have to commit to live in a certain way, because it does require a lot of sacrifice, right? Like on the earthly side of it,
Absolutely.
like it requires a lot of not hanging out with your homies. It requires a lot of not going to the party. It requires a lot of the chick texting you and you gotta ignore that text so that you don't go. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like there's a lot of that
Them three
kind of
o'clock
stuff.
booty calls, man. Can't do it
Yeah,
no
like,
more.
and it just doesn't sound fun. So it's
It don't
like people
sound
don't want to
fun.
do it. You know what I mean? Like if we're just being real, it doesn't sound fun. It's like I don't want to give up everything that everybody else is doing and that all the music is talking about and they make it sound lit. I want to do that too. And in
Exactly.
order to be a good
Exactly.
Christian, I kind of have to turn away from all of these things. So it's a hard commitment, and I think that's why a lot of people avoid it. But
Yeah.
that's where being comfortable being uncomfortable comes in, because if you really want to grow as a person, in that realm or in business, or if you want to be a streamer or a podcaster or something or an interviewer, you have to get out there and do things that are going to make you very uncomfortable a lot of the time. Like this
Absolutely.
past week, we've been experiencing an uptick in a lot of racism coming our way on our Instagram page and on our TikTok and stuff because we've been covering more subjects that deal with black issues, like more serious black
Yeah.
issues. We covered the Carmelo Anthony situation, and we covered you know just different the
Yeah.
Austin Metcalf situation, and well, that's the same thing, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
just different stories like that, different studies about how black children are treated versus white children, and it's just been it's been a just a rainstorm, you know what I'm saying, of all of these comments of people coming in. But this is what I'm asking for, and I know that this is the fight that I'm taking on. So in a way, it's a good thing because it's like, okay, I'm making noise. So, and I know I'm right at the end of the day. That helps too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Like,
Like when you know you're
look, the
right,
black experience is a real thing, people.
that
It's a
it is.
real
You know what I
thing.
mean? So, you know, so there's a point in there where it's like, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable with this because I put out a clip, it got 10,000 views, and there's a lot of hate on here. So like, how many of these people maybe live around me? How many of these people, maybe will recognize my
Yeah.
face? I don't know who they are because they're just some anonymous TikTok user. You know what I mean? It's like, but I got to
Mhm.
embrace that now because this is what I asked for. I wanted that attention. And I know that that's what comes with it. If I'm going to be speaking truth, I'm going to make people uncomfortable. So, it's just part of the game, so
It
it's
comes
dope
with it.
to see you talk about each step of the journey. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, they try to make it a lot simpler than it is. They'll be like, well, I mean, I had a bad situation happen, and then I went and got baptized, and then here I am, and it's like, nah,
And
there was more in the middle. Like,
I would
tell me
I
the
would be
stuff in the middle. So thank you, I appreciate the openness.
I would be doing my walk a disservice making it sound like it's so simple. I'll be in church sometimes and I'll be hearing people's transitions. I'll be like, man, it really was A and B for you, huh? For me, it was
Yeah.
ADEZHGI
Then back
one
to
two
B.
thirty
Then I had to
four.
go figure something else out.
Yeah,
And then I went back to B,
yeah,
C,
like
D.
I'm feeling like some people be like, yeah, I've never been through that. I'd be like, man, I said this in one track that I got coming up where I said I done been through bombs, bullets, bullies, the police, losing my faith and restart to a rookie. Like, I'm looking at folks like it was not simple,
See, and I think
but
also
for
because you
some people it
come
is.
from the perspective that you come from, it's very metaphorically speaking, of course, dare I say Jesus like in a way, in the sense of you're talking to the people. You're
Yeah.
not like you're amongst the people. You come from that. So you know what people are going through, you know why certain people may make the decisions they make. You probably understand that a lot of these people are good people who maybe
Hmm.
just got strayed the wrong way, because of whatever influence or whatever the case may be. Because I was hearing your story, and it's very similar to situations that I've been through. Like you said, two-parent household, educated, you know what I'm saying? All the stuff. I
Yeah.
also ended up in the streets. Why? Because I chose to. That's why. If at the end of the day,
Because
that's
I
the
chose
reason.
to.
I
Yeah.
chose to be in the streets. There was no reason for me to be in the streets at all. I had everything I
Exactly.
needed. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe I couldn't get the
It's
Jordans. I
the
could still get the
programming
Air
too,
Force
man.
Ones though. Like it was like that. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, but I wanted the Jordans though. So now I'm gonna go and do. So that's all it was. Like, and I can admit
Exactly.
that now as a grown man. Like, so it's good that they hear that side of it too. Like people sometimes just make stupid decisions because human beings make dumb decisions. It doesn't make us bad people all
Exactly.
the time.
Exactly.
So yeah. But I do want to get a little bit more into your ministry work and into your community work. So, because I'm very big on that. I go to protests, I try to support local activists. So I want to highlight those things that you do for sure. So now you shared an experience recently at FCC Butner with the Fathers on the Move. Now, how was performing in a
Yes.
prison environment? How did that impact your view on, the power of music and just sort of what we were just talking about? How, just because you may make a mistake or a bad decision, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. And, just talk about that.
Man, so that was I have done work with the homeless, through Gospel Explosion NC, and then connecting with us connecting with Fathers on the Move. I've had a chance to really see people through many different lights, but that one in particular, going to Butner, man, that was it was humbling because I know for a fact that was probably the prison I was going to end up in,
Mm,
and to see what you know how they say God works in mysterious ways, and to see the difference between me being there and the guys that I was speaking to who are getting ready to transition out, the only difference is a small intervention. You know, that what I call that God intervention, because truth be told, I was accused of kidnapping. Two white women accused me of kidnapping, and I did not
mm,
have enough evidence to prove I didn't do it. All I had was one of them went back and said I didn't do it, but the DA said, well, I need a career, and picked it up for the state. So, you
that's
know,
ugly.
everybody in the South,
So ugly.
in the black community, when two white women said you kidnapped them and you is some dreadhead black boy going to college, your time is up. Like that's how
Mm.
they looking at you. Like you getting ready to get the boom. And so now I'm standing here in front of these guys, and I've had it. First of all, I was late. I got lost in the prison. Like, mind you, the people that helped me find my way were other inmates. Like, like, I was lost in the prison. The people that showed me where to go and who to talk to were other inmates. So people say what they want. A mistake is just a mistake, and we've all made them. To be quite honest with you, if any of you are guilty of having, committed speeding, if you have sped over 20 miles per hour, you broke the law. You broke the law after you went over a mile, but you broke the law. A cop could have stopped you, put points on your license. Heaven forbid you might have been smoking in the car or whatever the case may have been. A lot of people really, if we talk about the books in the law, deserve to go to prison if we want to get real with it. A lot of people have done some things they're not proud of. It just so happened that these brothers got caught up. They did something where they couldn't hide from it, or they might have not did it. Like they might have not
Right.
did. They might have been like me and just couldn't afford to get out of it. I spent a lot of money trying to prove my innocence only to come out with a plea. And like so being in the prison, being able to share my story, I was the last person that was able to speak to them. I wasn't expecting to get the chance to speak with them. I came to listen and show support, but they ended up asking somebody to perform. And I was gonna let another artist in the room, Moses MOG. I was gonna let him do it because he'd been there
Mm.
the whole time, but he looking at me like, and I'm like, all right. Look, him, the other side, they looking at me like, all right. So I was like, ugh, I got
Like,
outvoted.
I
All
got it.
right. So I went up there and I performed a cappella. But that song that I mentioned earlier, Was Not a Problem, that was the one that I went up there and did a cappella. And so I performed it, and man, I don't the spirit was moving in that room that day because I explained, what the song was about and had to tell my story a little bit. And I encouraged the guys and I told them, God is a restorer of time. He's not looking at your past and then saying that's it. The moment that you ask for forgiveness, that's where he's starting with you at. Like he's working
Hmm.
from there. All right, yeah, you did what you did. Now let me restore you. Let me fix you. Let me get you right where you need to be because I got a bigger plan for you. That yes, you might have had to sit down for some time for me to get this plan orchestrated in your mind and in your walk. But now that's over. Now let's get moving. We got other things. So all these guys were fathers. All these guys like me, I'm not a father, but I'm an uncle. All of them had
Hmm.
people that they cared about. And so the word that I shared with them was, God's a restorer of time. You're not done yet. Even if you're old, you're not done yet. If you had a dream that was delayed by being here, it's not over. Get back to it. And what touched me was, man, some of the guys started crying. Like, I kid you not. And I'm sitting there like, man, I don't know what they've been through, to where that's the reaction. Like what I'm saying, I have not been locked up. I've been through the system. I've not been locked up. And I understand the fear of my life is over. I get that, you know, I'm glad I can tell them like, hey, yes, I just got off probation last year and I'm getting things together too, but we're not done, fellas. We just getting started. And that actually touched them. I don't know what they've been through totally. But that right there for me was like, I'm glad I'm here. I say, God, thank you for having me here. I thank those inmates that didn't mislead me. Like everything moved me to be right there for that moment. And I got the chance to speak with them, shake hands with them, encourage them. And one of them actually got out and hit me up. And I got a chance to talk to him too. So it was humbling, man. It was humbling. And I would do it again. I would definitely do it again. And the Gospel Explosion NC team, we go out to the streets. A lot of times people ask us where's our church? We're not a church. We're a street ministry. We do like Jesus did. Jesus didn't have a church. Yes, the church is encouraged by Christ, but it is not the fullness. If you're not working, if you're not working outside of your four walls, you're not doing exactly what he said. We
Yeah.
go feed people, we give people clothes. We don't just beat people down with the word, but we do share the word of God. We do share the Bible. We do talk about it, but we done had people who had a whole nother religion come up to us thinking that we wouldn't help them because they were of another faith. And we're like, nah, man, sit down, get a free haircut. Man, get a meal.
And I want
Like,
to, yeah, I want to talk about those specifics because that's actually my next question. So,
okay.
but I did just want to, just one more time, just kind of highlight how, again, when you've been in certain scenarios and you can really empathize with what somebody's going through, not sympathize, but empathize with what they're going through.
Yeah.
Like, then it's a lot easier for people to take your message, I think, because they know that you're coming from a genuine place because you may not have been to prison, but you were on your way. And then, you
Right.
know what I mean? Like it worked out in a way to where you didn't have to go, you know what I'm saying? But you were still on probation until the year before. So even that little thing, it's like, okay, he's not just some square who's just coming to try to tell me, oh, Jesus will make your whole life better and everything's all
Right.
good. It's like, nah, he's actually been through at least some of what I've been through. So let me hear him out. So that's dope, and we need more of that, you know what I'm saying? Like people who can reach back to people who have actually been through what they've been through and can offer a tangible way out, outside of just, you know what I mean, stuff that everybody's heard, but it's like, okay,
Yeah.
but how do we make it work though, So in places like Durham, North Carolina, you've hosted community events, featuring giving out free food, giving haircuts, also live performances. So, we've kind of gotten into it already, but why is it important for you to take your art out of the studio and to engage directly with the community and actually put in the work besides just speaking?
So, man, I'm gonna tell you, my original plan wasn't even to do that. My original plan was to go to the clubs and bars and stuff and rap gospel music. I was gonna do it there like that. But I have a thing about especially me having been a promoter in Greensboro, North Carolina for years. Um, there was plenty of times where I wish somebody would come get me. Like, why won't somebody come here and tell me, hey, you ain't gotta do this tonight. I got something better for you. There was plenty of times, I've watched people die. Like friends, I've watched them die, be killed. And I think about stuff like that. Like, what if somebody had went out of their way and said, hey, Etano, let me talk to you real quick. Hey, Brass, let me talk to you real quick. It wasn't enough of that. It was a lot of people I felt like that weren't really hearing my mindset or were already passing a judgment. And that didn't help. I became more
Right.
destructive, and I really harmed myself and others unintentionally, but it is what happened. And so now with the Gospel Explosion, NC team, I am now able to, work with a group of people who we don't want to just sit in the church and talk about Jesus. We want to be the church and go out to the streets where the people are and represent what he represented. He was talking to the sick people. He was talking to the prostitute. He was talking to the gambler. He was talking to the homeless. He ate with them. He didn't become like them. As a matter of fact, they got better because he sat there with them. He did those things. So if I want to say I worship Jesus Christ, it's important that I make a walk where I'm doing what he did. And I ain't saying the people that, hold it down in the church are wrong, because they're not wrong. Um, but if we're going to call ourselves the body of Christ, there's got to be feet. It can't just be torso, can't just be head. It's got to be some feet. And these
Mhm.
feet got to be moving, and these legs, they got to be moving. So it's important to me because you go to people right where they are. Some people don't want to go to church. Some people don't want to sit in the building. And some people feel like they don't need it. And okay, that's cool. We're going to come to you then. We're going to come to you. Like I told you, to me, the spirit, the Holy Spirit, he came to my car. I'm getting ready to be a murderer. Hey, but he came to me. So that's what I'm going to do for those I feel like he created. I'm going to go to them.
And I think it's important to recognize that also, just because, I can speak from a perspective of, I run in a lot of progressive circles, right? So
Yeah.
I can tell, I know the reason that a lot of people are not religious in modern times is because they see stuff like, for example, what Joel Osteen did when there was all those floods going on in Texas, and he basically shut down the doors of the
Yeah.
church and didn't let anybody homeless in, even though he's got this mega church, all this space, you know what I mean? And the children of God needed somewhere to go, and you locked the doors and made sure that nobody could get in, and you're eating on, you got all this wealth. So we see that type of stuff. The Drewski skit, essentially, like, we've seen the Drewski skit in real life so many times, to where
Yeah.
it's like, people are like, why would I follow that? Like, they don't even believe in what they're saying. Like, Jesus himself was breaking bread, like you said, with the actual people on the streets, like the
Yeah.
homeless people, the bottom of society that everybody had
Yeah.
written on. Those were Jesus's people. That's who he was hanging with to try to bring them
Yeah.
up. So if you consider yourself to be a man of Jesus, why would you do the opposite? So I think that was the
Right.
disconnect, and you're kind of that glue in the middle to remind people, like, no, this is what I would say real Christianity looks like. If you're
Yeah.
following the word of that's what I would say New Testament Christianity looks like. That's what because I do make a distinction. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think there are New Testament Christians and there are Old Testament Christians. I think, unfortunately, in the media today, what you see a lot of is what I call Old Testament Christians, meaning they just want to punish people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gay. Well, we're going to stone you to death. Oh, you did this. Well, we're going to, it's all judge. It's all be as harsh as possible. It's, oh, God said don't marry of two different tribes. So interracial marriage is out. We don't like that either. Like,
Mm.
that's the logical. Whereas if you're a New Testament Christian, it's, no, love everybody. It's, though that he who has not sinned, throw the first stone. Oh, well, we've all sinned,
Yeah.
so that's nobody then, right? So it's way more of an inclusive message. So I think there is a clear difference in how people practice their Christianity. I want to see more New Testament Christians. I think that would bring more people back into the church. I think less people would turn against Christianity if people practiced it in a loving way. What do you think of that?
I feel like, and I get exactly what you mean by New Testament and Old Testament Christian. I get exactly what you mean. I wish more Christians would read their Bibles, and
Yeah.
not just one side or the other, but read the whole thing. Study it. Don't just read it, study it. Because if you're looking at the Old Testament, there's a lot of love in the Old Testament that people overlook because they're not privy to it. They're not understanding of God's love compared to man's love. Um, because yes, there was a time period where if you were homosexual, they would have stoned you. There was a time, if you were a woman, you cheated on your husband, they would have stoned you.
Hmm.
But then if you add in Jesus, understanding of Jesus now being the Messiah, we're saying he's God in flesh. All right. So A woman committed adultery. They bring her to Jesus, and they were trying to trick Jesus. That's what they were really trying to do. And he gave them the understanding of the Old Testament in a way that none of them ever thought of ever before. Because they was like, well, she did this, and the Mosaic law says she is to be killed, she is to be stoned. And he was like, you're right. So those of you who have never committed a sin, do it first. And everybody was like, ooh, because now to claim that you never committed a sin is to claim that you're God.
Right.
And now, if you're saying you're God, you already broke one law because we know you're not because you've sinned. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like now you gotta let her go. And if the man who we now understand is God in the flesh didn't kill her, and all he did was dust her off and say, now, be clean, sin no more, don't do it again. But he gave her grace. Now, with that understanding, it's like, what was the Old Testament really teaching us? The Old Testament was teaching this is what the world looks like when you don't have God. This is what the world looks like when you try to do it yourself. It's going to be a whole lot of pain. It's going to be a whole lot of problems. Now, when you throw in Jesus, it's like, this is what the world looks like if you walk this path. Yeah, you got this knowledge. Now walk this path. Now you got everlasting life. You got love. You got peace. You got mercy. A lot of times when people talk about the Old Testament, they really talking about they that lack that what seems to be merciless. They really want to be a little ruthless. And yeah, you got some people out here that want to be ruthless. And I'm gonna just say, you're not a Christian.
And that's what
you're,
I mean. That's why I
you're
say
not a
that
Christian.
because yeah, like obviously, if there's no what you can't realistically separate the New Testament from the Old Testament. It's all
Mm-mm.
one Bible, right? So,
Right.
but that's what I mean when I say that. Like I mean how people present their
Yeah.
Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Like the style in which you display your love for Jesus? Is it through hating the other because you can justify it in certain Bible, scriptures, possibly read out of context? But well, the words on the page say this, so therefore,
Yeah. So I'm gonna go
are
do
you
this.
that way, or are you? I'm gonna try to be as helpful to as many people. I'm gonna love the immigrant. I'm gonna love my neighbor. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give grace. Even if somebody does me, I'm gonna turn the other cheek, not be super go get them. I'm gonna kill you if you walk through my front door because I have the right to.
Yeah.
Like, no, what happened to turn the other cheek like Jesus would do? And that doesn't mean turn and walk away. That means present the other cheek.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know that.
And that's and that's
So
that's some gangster stuff. Imagine punching a man and he's like, hold on real quick. Hey, try this one instead. Boy,
yeah,
that's gangster. That's
yeah.
I done hit you with everything I got.
What do you
Hey,
say to that? So
I'm
um,
somebody. I'm somebody that I had to forgive the man that killed my friends. I wasn't just in jail, y'all. I was locked up across from him.
that's tough.
And I
That's
didn't want to.
tough.
I didn't want to. I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to die. I wanted him to go to hell. I wanted all of that. But then
There's
my
there's
I'm in
people
jail
in
with
my
them.
family who had to forgive somebody who is responsible for my cousin doing a really, really long bid in prison. And not that my cousin
Yeah.
was completely innocent in the situation. There's a reason he's doing the time he's doing. But the other guy should be in there too. I'll just put it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but we can't be walking around forever because we would have been, we 20 years in at this point. It's like we're going to be walking around mad for 20 years. Like, we don't know where this guy's at. We don't know where he lives. We're not looking for him no more. You know, we might as well forgive him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But whew, boy, 20 years is a long time. One of
yeah, man.
one of the
Yeah.
biggest figures in the Bible did 20 years, man. So there's folks out there that can relate.
Well,
God bless your cousin, man. For real.
I do want to bring it around to definitely highlight a lot of the positive things that you're doing outside of just your community work and your music, but you also host a lot of events and you network with a lot of other creatives and artists and things like that. So you host, and I can you pronounce it for me? I don't even want to. It's Esakai
Oh,
Nights, the CK Nights. How do I
Isekai
say it?
Nights. Yeah. Yeah.
Esakai Nights. Okay, I was all right.
Isekai.
Okay.
I had to learn that too.
Easy Kai, okay. So what have you learned about your own journey by listening to the stories of the artists and the creatives that you interview? Like, what have you learned about yourself through interviewing others?
we're all just children trying to figure this thing out. We
Yeah.
we are all first and foremost, we're all subject to love. We're all deserving of love. We're all deserving of a safe space. We deserve to have a chance to be ourselves and to work out our own destinies. We definitely deserve these things. Um, and it's given me a chance to be free myself. It's like a lot of people don't know, but people who they're more than Christian, but they're followers of Jesus. Like, yeah, you could be Christian, but there's a difference. You can also be a disciple. They're not the same thing. People who really disciple themselves also feel persecuted. They also feel like there's not a lot of places they can be. So with things like Isekai Nights, when I can come in and the common interest is anime. It's
Mm,
not
okay.
politics. It's not religion. It's none of that. It's anime. Now we can enjoy each other a whole nother way. It's a whole world. First of all, I wasn't super big on anime. I became a bigger learner of anime. I have my few that I like, but now it's like, man, this is a whole world where people really escape to enjoy and be entertained. And it's fun. It's fun. It's lighthearted. And so I've had a chance to really get the opportunity to know some great people. Um, you know, ask and be asked some questions that might have not ever came up otherwise, and get to be introduced to Raleigh, North Carolina, a different way too, because I'm not originally from that area, so I'm a visitor, and I enjoy meeting the people there and getting these different stories, hearing their passions, seeing them do their art, and just how they develop and grow. Because none of us are gonna stay the same.
Facts. That's a fact. Um, well, yeah, I love to hear that, man. Just because I know that when I talk to different people, um, I either it's just interesting to hear different people's stories, especially where they're from. Because like are you from North Carolina originally? Like, did you
Yeah,
grow
I'm
up
from
there?
North Carolina.
Okay, yeah. See, now I'm from Michigan. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But there's still a lot of parallels in our stories, even though we're from very different places. You know what I mean? So that's what I like to get to know people's backgrounds and stuff like that, just to see the differences and the similarities between it. So no, I love it. What's the vision behind the BT5 series, and how are you using that to foster your connections in other creative spaces?
So the BT5 series, it started off as a way to present new music, mainstream and underground. But now it's a way for me to introduce what's going on in the urban community. I have my faith-based work, and then I have my work where it's me showing people what's going on outside and the people that are behind it. So I want to highlight the urban community, and not just the urban community as far as Black people alone, but who's making the things shake outside, like what's going on out here. I
Yeah.
want to introduce those people. I want to meet those people, and I want people to know who those people are. It helps boost their business. It also helps build connections, because some people have watched the BT5 series and didn't know that such and such did certain things, and then they went after,
Hmm.
and then they became a part of that. That's the whole point of the BT5 series, to give the streets a mouthpiece that's a good that, and then have something good to say.
So leading into, all the different things that you're working on, it seems like it's leading towards, something that you've been doing. Now I don't know if this is an annual event or, but definitely tell us more about this. It's definitely a special event, Passion Fest. You got Passion Fest and you throw it in Charlotte, it looks like. So what makes this event so special for the Christian hip hop scene? Who comes out to it? How did you put it together? Talk to me about Passion Fest, because it seems like everything that you're
So
building, so as far as with BT5 and with even with some of the stuff that you were doing with like Fathers on the Move, like maybe when some of those brothers come out and different things like that, like and then the Isekai Nights, like all of that seems like it kind of coincides with what you're doing with Passion Fest. So talk to me about that.
Oh, Passion Fest is actually not my event. It's actually an event that I was invited to perform at, and that is
Okay.
ran by the Passion Fest team. Shout out DJ EJ and his whole team because they did a great job with that. But the event that I'm tied to is the Chance to Star Music Festival, and that's going on, September 18th through the 20th in Richmond, Virginia. So
Okay. Okay.
really, and we also have another festival. The Anime Nights is having its own festival, October 30th. And so that's going to be called, Isekai Nights, The Final Rift. These events, really and truly is giving people not only a safe space, it's opening up platforms and giving opportunities to individuals as well. The thing about the Chance to Star Music Festival is, we've had people perform and end up on the billboard. We've
Mm.
had people perform and end up with deals, get on marketing, get management. You're not just coming to perform. This is not a showcase. This is a festival where those that perform network, build, gain fans. Fans get to meet them. They present their best. We have a video expo. We have a whole thing that this has grown into. And this is our second year in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm ready to see what it does this year because we have way more opportunities. We've had record execs come out, producers, voice actors, people who've held prominent roles in the music industry and the entertainment industry. So it's grown into something that is like almost like family. It's almost like getting ready for a family reunion with some cousins that you ain't met in a long time or never met
Yeah.
before. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope, and yeah. So I'm glad. Thank you for clearing that up. You know what I mean. So that way the people can
Absolutely.
definitely make sure to support you in Richmond, VA. So I have one last question for you, man. Before I let you go, I definitely want to thank you for your time.
Of course.
Before I let you, do all your plugs and everything before you get out of here, my last question for you is looking ahead at the rest of the year, right? We're a little over halfway through the year. Today is July 4th. Happy, they've been calling it July 10th. Uh, in Black Circle. So happy July 10th to you,
I
sir.
like that.
But looking ahead for the rest of the year, what is one major goal, whether that be musical or professional, or I'm sorry, musical or personal, that you're currently working towards?
I want to host a concert at the Barclays Center. I want 1 million people to hear my music, and I want to bring thousands of people to the Barclays Center to worship Jesus Christ and to bring a positive light to Brooklyn, New York. And that's not going to be the only place I do this at, but that's the first place where it hit my heart to do it. So that's where I'm going to go with it. So if you know anybody who would like to donate to this cause or anybody that would like to help with this cause, tell them to tap in with me. I've already talked to the Barclays Center. Only thing I'm waiting on is an available date. That's it. But as far as like getting the funds together, that's my focus. I've talked to artists like shout out, D1. He's doing his thing right now. I talked to him about it already. There's other prominent artists out there that I've reached out to and had a chance to connect with. I, Hundreds of people are interested. I'm just waiting for a date. So throughout the rest of this year, I'm gonna be working on that. Hopefully, that's something I can bring to life next year, or maybe even in the beginning of the year following. But that's where my focus is going. Thousands of people in Brooklyn doing their thing.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Etano, man. I definitely. How'd you get the name? That wasn't on my list, but how'd you get the name? I'm curious. Where
I
does that
never.
come from?
I was praying, yeah, praying and working out, and I'm running around, and I'm sitting there like, I need a better name. Like, God, I can't serve you with brass. Like, I done made that about money, and I done trapped with. I'm like, Lord, I need a better name. And so I'm just running around one day, and I'm hearing Etano. And I'm like, what does that even mean? I heard the word Etano for 3 weeks before I looked it up, and I'm like, what does this even mean? And apparently, it has several meanings, but the main one was stand firm. So I'm like, oh, that's a command. I like that. That's my name now. Etano, stand firm. Gotcha.
And standing firm in your beliefs, man. You got to stand 10 toes down.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Hey, that's what's up, man. I appreciate your time, bro. Everybody, please Go support my man Etano. You can follow him right there at BrassOT9 on Instagram. What other platforms are you on, and where do you want the people to follow you? What you got coming up next? You know, all that good stuff. Close it out. Let them know where they can find you.
So, Big God just dropped today on Bandcamp. Make sure you guys tap in. It's free, y'all. It's free. You can donate. You can pay what you want to pay, but it's free on Bandcamp. The reason I'm doing Bandcamp is because these streaming services don't want to pay your boy money. So I gotta do Bandcamp just to, earn. But with this song in particular, I'm more interested in you guys receiving the message and pushing the message. My goal is 1 million ears. I need 1 million people to hear these. I need 1 million eyes to see these videos and stuff. So check it out. You can find me Etano on Bandcamp. You could also go to my Instagram and hit the link. It's available right now. And like I said, it's free. You give what you want to give. But you can also find me on TikTok. It's Etano of the Nine, not Brass OT9, but Etano OT9. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook. Find me at Brass X Etano. All right. Y'all can find me all over the platforms, YouTube as well. Follow me, subscribe, tap in with your boy. And if you DM me, I will hit you back. All right. I'm busy, but I'm not impossible to reach. So tap in. I like to build a connection with those that follow me and support me. And I like to build more with you guys as well.
That's right. That's right. Shoot him a DM, and the only way that he's not gonna respond is, you know what I'm saying, when he's off doing his Tupac lookalike side gig. Outside of that, though, he's got you. You know what I'm saying? So,
No,
my man Etano, man, I appreciate you, bro, for coming through, man. Once again, this is the Ethos Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe for all the latest content. Catch me at night on the night shift, where we talk about all types of issues. Catch me on Politics as Usual, where I'm interviewing different people about politics. Catch me on Entreprenegros, where I'm interviewing black entrepreneurs. And outside of that, man, catch me when you catch me. Peace.